What's going on, NBA fanatics? This is your friendly neighborhood Memphis Grizzlies homer, Memphis X, and I talk hoops. Today, we're going to start our draft coverage for the 2022 NBA draft regarding the Memphis Grizzlies. Well, I guess it's not starting, but we're going to start our draft profiles. And today, our draft profile is going to be on none other than my favorite fit for the Memphis Grizzlies, Ousmane Dieng. But first, every hero needs their theme music.
KeyAno.
Grizz gang, go hard. Yeah. Baddest in the game, we be on one. I talk hoops, so joy. All up on the court, but we gon' score. Memphis bringing heat straight from Tennessee. Demo respect and let's go.
When it comes to Ousmane Dieng, it basically comes down to the tale of two seasons. There was a first part of the season for him in the NBL. There was a second part of the season in the NBL. And what's interesting about it is that it was somewhat similar to LaMelo Ball's time in the Australian League. NBL, if you don't know, is a professional league in Australia, and it has the Next Stars program, which is basically a place for sort of like the G League Ignite and Overtime Elite, where somebody who is not quite eligible for the NBA draft can go down for a season and get some training and experience versus professional grown men. So when you go back and look, and I watched LaMelo Ball because I was a big fan of LaMelo Ball coming into the NBA. So I basically watched his entire season in NBL. And that's what kind of got me, infatuated with the NBL, because at the end of the next season I went on to watch Josh Giddey, and this year I went and watched Ousmane Dieng. So I'm pretty familiar with the league as far as the level of play, the style of play, and what can be expected from as far as the before and after and coming into the league, coming into the NBA. So when I watched Ousmane Dieng, I will admit, had the roughest start of all three prospects. And when I mean the three prospects, I'm going to say LaMelo Ball, Josh Giddey, and him. He had the roughest start. Now, LaMelo Ball also had a rough start, especially shooting. LaMelo Ball had a rough start. So, Ousmane Dieng, his shooting was horrendous to start. Horrendous. He looked out of place, and things kind of looked terrible for him. But as we can see, as the season, if you watched him during the season and you actually watched the games, and I'm one of them crazy people that's up in the middle of the night watching the NBL live on, because they stream all their games. So I'd have an alert and I'd go watch his game. And I would see him play and I would watch him on the court. And you could see, just like with LaMelo Ball and with Josh Giddey, it was like they were learning. I don't know what the NBL is doing as far as training and these guys, but whatever they're doing is real good, because these guys actually learn a lot during the season and improve a lot during the season. It's amazing to watch. It's one of my most fun things about following the draft and things like that. And the process that really made me fall in love with it is watching Joel Embiid, because it looked like Joel Embiid was downloading stuff from the Matrix, like the Matrix programs, and just coming up with new moves. But I digress. With Ousmane, you could see him moving around on the court, and he did not look comfortable at all at the beginning of the season. And then there was a point in maybe halfway through the season where he started to find his footing in the league. He started to having comfortable games. But first, we want to see, what did Ousmane think about his start in the NBL?
Ousmane, how would you describe, what the year's been like for you so far?
The beginning of the season was a little bit tough for me, first year in pro, against grown men, new country, but I worked every day to getting used to it, and I'm starting to be comfortable in this league, so that's good.
So as you can see, Dean had a rough start to his NBL career. And to give some context on what he was facing in his, adjustment to the NBL, the team that he plays on in New Zealand, they had, because of COVID and the strict COVID protocols in Australia and, as far as traveling goes, New Zealand had to relocate their team to Australia. So in essence, the New Zealand team had no home games all season. They were on the road the entire season. So there was no home games. There was, they were on the road. It was a new environment, new country, first time in a real pro league, and he was 18 years old. So to have a slow start is understandable. And you can see by his season stats that his start was really, really slow. This is his season stats. 8.9 points, 3.2 rebounds, as you can see. 1.1 assists, 0.6 steals, 0.3 blocks, 1.4 turnovers. And the shooting percentages, which were 39.8 from the field, 27.1 3-point field goal, and 66.7 free throw. Now, it was as bad as it looked. I can tell you from watching, it was probably as bad as it looked then. And, I will admit that I was one of those guys, when I saw his first half of the season, the first part of the season, I was thinking, oh, this guy's going to need to stay over another year. I said, oh, he's not even nowhere near ready to come over to the NBA. He's going to have to stay over to another year. But I kept watching because I like the thought of a big jumbo creator. He was one of the guys that I liked coming into the draft because, like I said, the premium in the NBA is oversized wings. Guys like Zaire Williams, who are 6'8 plus, who can dribble, pass, and shoot, theoretically, with Zaire. But Zaire did show his ability to pass and shoot to an extent. And to me, Ousmane Dieng is in that same mold as Zaire. One of those guys where you can literally play with 3 or 4 of them on the court at the same time in a playoff game, and it will not kill you. So I really liked his archetype, and I wanted to see him succeed because I thought he'd be one of those guys that the Grizzlies could probably target with one of their picks. Because at the time when I was watching them, the Grizzlies had 3 picks in the first round. The Lakers pick, their pick, and the Jazz pick. And I thought our pick was going to be, middle of the first round. So I thought that, he would be a good target at their pick. So I watched him. Now, as you can see, he started to pick up in the middle of the year, but it really wasn't a consistent thing. But the last, I guess, 6 games of the season, it really, really started to pick up. Now, as you can see, the last 6 games of the season, Ousmane really picked it up. They gave him the ball more. He had the ball in his hands more. And they let him do a lot more creating on the ball. And it seemed to pay off for him and the team. And the team that was kind of had, a very, very low level of talent. And they were on the road all season. So they didn't win many games. But his level of play really, really did pick up. He jumped to 14.3 points per game, 4 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 1.5 steals, 0.5 blocks, 2.7 turnovers. You can see his turnovers almost doubled because he had the ball in his hand a lot more. But his shooting really picked up, 55.7% from the field, 42.9% from three-point range, and he still shoots just 60% from the free throw line. Now, like I said, we're talking small sample sizes here. So this is something that you have to consider. What do we want to believe, the small sample size or the bigger picture? Now, I think that he was getting better every game. If you watched him, he was really, really getting better. And I thought the team was better off with him having the ball in his hands and shooting the ball more because, to me, by this time in the season, he was the best player on their team, and it really, really showed. Now, when it comes to the strength of Ousmane Dieng as far as a player goes, the one thing that really, really, really stood out for Ousmane Dieng has always been his positional size. Now, when you see a guy that's 6'9", 6'10", with a 7'2" wingspan, you really think of power forward. And in the new NBA, this is the size of the centers right now. If you look in the playoffs, these are the size of the centers. This is the size of Kevon Looney. This is the size of Bam Adebayo. This is the size of Robert Williams. These are the guys that are playing center now in the NBA. So when you see this guy who's 6'9", 6'10", 7'2" wingspan, and he actually moves like a wing. Now, people say this a lot when these guys of this size are athletic and they say he moves like a wing, but no, he actually looks like a wing on the court. When he handles the ball, when he shoots, his dribble moves, all that, he looks like a wing. He plays basketball like a shooting guard. He moves, he has that fluidity of movement like Kevin Durant at his size. Now, he's not as athletic as Kevin Durant, but he has that fluidity of movement like Kevin Durant at his size. So that is the biggest thing that stands out with him. Now, when you watch his tape, as you will see later on when I play it, you will see the thing that really impresses me is his pick and roll craft. And if you see in the NBA, especially in these playoffs, and if you can see from the Grizzlies, that was the one thing that they missed, especially when Ja Morant went out. It's a guy that can dribble, pass, and shoot, especially out of the pick and roll. I mean, now ideally you would get somebody like Ja who can operate out of the pick and roll and in isolation. But Ja is one of those ones, and he's not to be, one of those guys that you're going to get outside of the top 5 unless you're lucky. But his pick and roll craft, especially at 6'9", 6'10", is just immense. He has the ability to pull up for shots, pull up for jumpers, pass the ball while in motion, pass the ball while dribbling, hit opposite corners with one hand, all of that. He has it all in his bag. He can throw lobs. Everything is in his bag when he's running the pick and roll. And that is what, to me, makes him real valuable and a real fit with the Memphis Grizzlies. Because he is somebody that can come in probably by year 2 and be running basically second unit offense. Creating for others, creating for himself, getting shots, and that. Now, what also is encouraging about him is his defensive upside. His ability to lock in one-on-one and play defense. He is good at 6'10". You got to think like how Zaire was. Very good feet. Can stay in front of smalls, point guards. He can really, really, handle guys one-on-one in isolation. And he also has the size to body up as far as the length, to body up on bigger guys in the post and things like that. So he's a guy that should be in the future be able to defend up and down as far as the positional spectrum in the NBA. And then lastly, his strength is his shot versatility. Now, like I told you in his pick and roll craft, he can get his shot off in the pick and roll off the bounce with ease. And you will see in the highlights how he gets his shot off in the pick and roll. He's able to get his shot off in isolation, mostly on the step backs. He can step back, step to the left, and with his size and the height of his release, he can get his shot off mostly against anyone. And if you put a small on him, he's just going to shoot over the top on him. If you put a big on him, that's when it unlocks his isolation game a little bit, as he's able to dribble past most bigs, in isolation. And then, his catch and shoot is very, very, very encouraging. That's why I say he's a perfect guy to put in the Memphis Grizzlies system, because when you have somebody like Bane operating off the dribble or Ja operating off the dribble, he can sit in the corner and he can execute this the catch and shoot very well. You got to think of these shots that Kyle Anderson was getting all year that he couldn't, he wasn't able to hit because of the hitch in his shoulder. Ousmane Dieng gets those shots, I'm pretty sure he's going to be able to knock them down at a very, very, very respectable clip that's going to cause teams not to rotate off of him or sag off of him to the inside and open up things more for Ja Morant, which is what we want to build this roster around. So, as far as the strengths of this guy, what I like about him is that eventually he's going to get bigger and stronger. He has a good frame on him. He's not one of those guys that's built like he's not built like Zaire. Zaire is one of those guys that's going to always be a wing guy, shooting guard, small forward, because he's got very narrow shoulders and he's very, very thin. There's only so much weight he's going to be able to put on. But Ousmane, he has a different frame. He has a frame more like the bigger guys, the bigger wings that looks like he might be able to get up to power forward size, eventually something like 230, 235 in weight, and hopefully not lose any athleticism, because his game isn't based on, run jump. His game is based on, basically fluidity of movement. That's his athleticism. So that is the strengths that Ousmane Dieng brings to the game. And now we're going to talk about his weaknesses. Now we get to the part that kind of always, when you're watching these player profiles, draft profiles, this is always the player. You remember when Mike Smith used to do the videos for Draft Express? It would be the part of the profile where the music changes and you get that feeling of this guy that they have built up through all his strengths. You built him up and you like, damn, this guy looks like a top 5 pick. And then you get to his weaknesses and you're like, oh, okay, that's what it is. So here we are in the improvement areas for Ousmane Dieng. The number one improvement area for me is strength. He looks like one of those guys who had never really hit the weight room. And if you know about, it seems like European training, it doesn't seem like they're big on weight room. And, it seems like they're about in the same boat as college as far as training. They're more skill-based training. So his weight room, his strength is very, 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 very telling. He looks like he's easily bumped off his drives. That's the problem he has in isolation. And I think when he gets stronger, he's going to be able, because he gets real low on his dribbles. When he gets real low on his dribbles and he has some strength, he's going to be able to knock little guys off of him. They're just going to fold off of him, and he's going to be able to finish a little bit stronger. And he's not going to always have to resort to floaters and, fadeaways and stuff like that. He's going to be able to power up through contact and hopefully increase his line, his ability to get to the free throw line. Another problem he has is when I say he's good in isolation defense, his screen navigation is very, very subpar. And I think this has a little bit to do with his strength also, as he's one of those guys that when he kind of dies on screens. So he might not be one of those guys like Zaire who's good at chasing smalls around, but he's one of those guys that that's why I think his eventual position is going to be a power forward as he gets stronger, because he's going to be one of those guys that, although he's not built to chase guys around screens and around the court and all that, he's going to be one of those guys that he's going to be able to switch very well in isolation and keep up with smalls in isolation and be able to bother their shots and bother their drives and keep them out of the paint, keep them from getting into the paint, with ease. Now, we already talked about his shooting accuracy. Now, if you saw, earlier in this tape, I've already showed you his first half and his last 6 games of the season and his shooting. So we don't know what's real, but he definitely needs to be more consistent in his form and his shot prep. So that can be something that can help him. And once he gets that down, I think he will become, a very, very decent three-point shooter. And I'm not talking about an elite guy over 40% like Bane. I'm talking about a decent guy in the 37, 38% range, especially if he's doing a lot of his shooting from the catch and shoot. I think he'll be okay. Now, his finishing also could use some work. And like I say, I think most of this goes back to his strength. That's why I put that at the top as his number one improvement area, because I think it helps everything else along as far as through his weaknesses goes. If he gets a little bit stronger, he'll be able to finish through contact and, hopefully, dunk a little bit more and things like that. So that is what I got for his strengths and his weaknesses. Now we're going to go to where do we see him going in the draft. In the latest drafts, we have the draft range of Ousmane Dieng seems to be right at the end of the lottery. Tankathon has him at 14. ESPN has him at 12. The Athletic has him at 12. CBS Sports has him at 12. So it seems like his draft position has settled with him being in the late lottery from 12 to 14. So this would put the Grizzlies in a situation that they probably have to draft, trade up to the 10, 11 range if they would like to select him. And, jumping from 22 to 10 is probably going to take some future picks. Might have to give up to 29 and a future pick, future first. And to me, as you can see by the title of this video, it would be worth it, even if they wanted to give up the 22nd, the 29th, and the Golden State Warriors pick to move up to, let's say, 11 with the Knicks, and maybe include, DeAnthony Melton and take back a bad contract, or include, somebody like that, or even I would say even a Brandon Clark, at least, although I would try to hold on to Brandon Clark. But DeAnthony Melton, I would definitely give up. I probably wouldn't give up Dylan Brooks in a deal to move up for Dieng, because I think that just opens up another hole in your team, and I wouldn't want to do that. But at DeAnthony Melton, Brandon Clark, Steven Adams, future first-round picks, all of that would be on the table for me in a deal to move up into the late lottery, or I'd say the 10, 11 range, to get a chance to draft Ousmane Dieng. So to sum it up, Ousmane Dieng is probably my ideal draft up player for the Grizzlies. Now, he's not my favorite draft up player for the Grizzlies, but he's likely the ideal draft up player for the Grizzlies. Now, later on, I'm going to do a video, probably Wednesday or even Friday, Wednesday or Thursday. I'm going to do the video for my favorite draft up target for the Grizzlies, and you're going to see that. But Ousmane Dieng is probably the ideal, and I would say because he fits the Grizzlies roster perfectly, in my opinion. He would give the Grizzlies the ability to play another big wing, a guy that can also be in your closing lineup eventually, because he won't have any shooting problems. And it will open up the court for Ja Morant, a guy that can be a secondary ball handler, even if you have, foul trouble with Bane or Ja, or injury problems in the middle of a playoff series. That's another guy that could generate shots for your players who are more dependent on others to generate those shots for them. Guys like Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson to some extent, and even keep Desmond Bane off the ball a little bit and allow him to run around and open up the court for other people. So these are the guys that I compare, or I say Ousmane Dieng compares favorably to, and these are the guys that you would see, the utility guys in the NBA, guys that can dribble, pass, shoot, have size, have positional versatility, guys that have went on throughout the NBA, throughout the history of the NBA, to help teams progress to the point of becoming championship level teams in the NBA. So you will see these guys as they come up, and let me know, what do you think of Ousmane Dieng? Who does he compare to you? Who do you like as far as, what do you think the Grizzlies should do as far as, should they trade up for this guy? Do you believe in his last 6 games more than you believe in his first half of the season? Can you see him fitting in with the Grizzlies? Is DeAnthony Melton too much to give up in a trade for him or to acquire him? Because to me, he fits in exactly with what Zach Kleiman has been saying, with the, sustainability of success, sustained success, because he's going to come in, instead of trying to trade for somebody like a veteran that's on a 1 or 2 year deal, you're trading for a guy that's on a rookie deal, and it gives you at least 8 seasons team control on his contract. And if it's a guy like Zaire that can come in and contribute off the bench immediately, it really gives you some salary versatility also in the years when you're going to need it, when Ja Morant's extension kicks in. So let me know what you think. Please subscribe to this video, hit the bell for notifications, and like this. Subscribe to this channel, hit the bell for notifications, and like this video, and share it with other Grizzlies fans or anybody who likes to talk about the NBA draft. Thank you.
Now he drives past contact and stuffs it home with two hands. Here's Kukoc with a great move. Back cut. Michael. Good night. Michael gives it to Tony Kukoc. As Montrose, and now he takes it to the hole.
Takes it to the hole and deals down.
Tony loved it. Yes, sir. Tony spin.
Oh,
nice.
yes.
Well, he had it the whole way. Tony saw it the whole way.
Beautifully done.
Kukoc with a fake pass in the basket. There. A slam for Kukoc.
Kukoc off the steal. Anytime European Player of the Year. Inside. What a move, Tony Kukoc. Kukoc fires down. Here's Hart.
Kukoc for the win.
It goes! Oh, brother! Bulls win it! Kukoc with the lifesaver!
Right by
Oh, what a pass to Wells. Oh, yeah. Nice pass again. Trying to guard Kukoc. Kukoc turns the corner, the dish, the cheat with the dunk. Kukoc. It counts and the foul. Kukoc found Worm Rottman. Great move by Kukoc. Won't get the roll.
And extendo man.
That was a great job, though, by Powell. Powell did a good job of forcing him to change it just a bit.
How about that? Lamar.
Odom leading the break. Artest drives inside. Banker. Oh, Odom right there. That's a tough shot. Gasol running the floor.
Has anybody stopped the ball? Lamar on the spin. Leaves it off for Gasol on the slam. 4 and counting.
Gasol from Randolph couldn't convert. Pretty play, but no payoff for the Grizzlies. Odom with the Statue of Liberty.
That doesn't get enough credit for his impact on this Laker team. Another steal. Odom to Gasol. Back to Odom. Up and under. Crowd is stunned, as are the Magic. 16 straight points, and they're up by 12. Pondexter, but it came all the way to half court, and Odom goes behind the back and passes to himself. Are you kidding me? Not only behind the back, and then passing it to himself. Lamar Odom having too much fun.
Denver turns it over. They're 6th so far. Odom, nice feed again. Gasol take it.
Set here's another turnover. The quick hands of Kobe Bryant.
Third turnover, alley-oop.
It means you really basically have 5 players involved.
Odom, nice pass inside to Gasol.
Again, they're exploiting Iverson guarding Luke Walton. Easy paint catch.
The second turnover by Houston. Ariza, Odom, Gasol. Great interception by Batum. And to Wade. Count it!
The long arms of Nicholas Batum anticipating the pass from Wade, and then how's he finish this? Wade reaching in on the foul, but the length and the athleticism. Here comes Batum, fires up, balance. Oh, he hit.
Great basketball player right there.
Yeah, because he didn't have time to square up.
Can switch.
Batum, quick 3 from the corner. Wow.
On the line. Looked like the whole foot was on the line. Looks like the left foot is. The right foot definitely is behind the line.
Right, as he spun. It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Leonard drops it off on the go to Batum. What they did.
Kobe has it poked away by Matthews. Batum ahead of the pack, and he jabbed.
The offense, but not tonight. He's really attacked the paint.
Good shot. How much is too much and too little?
Well, at first, really, Mike, they didn't know what the heck to do.
This ability to stop Blake Griffin. But here's Batum. Look how far out he is.
That's 3.
Here's Aldridge. They double him. Batum fades on up with free throws.
Well, we gave you that stat. If they don't score 100 points, they don't win.